I went on a lengthy rant today because it's just inevitable that this deal is going to go through, regardless of um, how people feel about spending money on a stadium in Las Vegas. If you guys tuned into the meeting that happened on Monday, most of the complaints were that the schools weren't getting enough money, but here we are trying to build a ballpark in Las Vegas. We, meaning they. Um, but late last night, um, the governor signed into law. He passed the budget that was given to him, adding another roughly $2 billion uh, to Las Vegas schools, and that probably quiets down quite a few critics. And one of the threats that were made in all of this legislation and legislative process was that the legislature were not going to pass uh, any of Lombardo's projects if they didn't get what they wanted. Well, they got what they wanted, so it's almost 100%. I'm gonna say 99% that they're just gonna push this through on Monday. They're just gonna put it through at the last minute. I don't see anything stopping it at this point. And unless there's just so much distaste for this that they'll stop it anyways, but I don't see that happen. You know what's funny is Fisher didn't have to tank the team to go to Vegas. They basically gave him permission to cut and run 2 years ago. So I never understood the reasoning other than just trying to save money. But oh, it's likely a done deal. I mean, yeah, I think the vote in the Assembly and Senate is just compulsory at this point. It's just going through the motions. I don't think there's anything left here to handle. They got what they wanted, and nobody really gives a shit. But my rant here though wasn't about the A's. The A's, the fuckery is piled a mile high. I mean, but the blame goes both ways, and there's a lot of fans who don't want to see it that way. They refuse to see it that way, and the fact is, Oakland didn't do the work they needed to do on the timetable that it needed to get done. That's just a fact. Oakland went at their own pace. They did it on their own time, and they didn't give a shit what John Fisher and Dave Calvel wanted to do. Oakland has this adversarial position on damn near everything. It's like, hey, no, we're not going to do it your way. You're going to do it our way. I mean, you saw that was evident when the A's had 2 EFDs that they wanted to do, and then said, hey, bring it to a vote, and then Oakland shows up with their own 1 EIFD and said, no, you're doing it our way. Yours isn't happening. And, the A's weren't happy with that, and that I'll bet you anything. That was the impetus to just get the fuck out. Like, they don't even want to listen to what we have to say. They want to do it their way. Okay. I mean, I think at that point maybe they just kind of went through the process to go through the process. When you have a poor owner that puts your poor owner, then you lose your fan base. That puts pressure on the city. Yeah, I mean, but he's not a poor owner, and that's the problem. He cried poor, he plays poor, but uh, it doesn't make sense, honestly. Um, Again, he didn't need to play this game. But I'm going to finish my point real quick here. Oakland did plenty to fuck this deal up. They did plenty. And to sit here and go, well, they didn't do it. I'm like, no, they did. Noel Gallo. He's a nice guy, but he has his head up his ass at this point. This isn't Oakland politics that he started with, and frankly, he's out of touch. He's just out of touch. He fought this thing because it wasn't happening at the Coliseum. He wanted it to happen at the Coliseum. It's not even in his district. I get that he's fighting for these people's jobs, but the A's already backed out. They were already done. Why they bought the Coliseum, I don't even freaking know. That was the fallback plan. The Coliseum was the fallback plan. Hey, if it doesn't work out at Howard Terminal, at least we have the Coliseum. It was the backup plan. That's not the backup plan. It was... they wanted this big site, and then they wanted this other site, and and I've been in contact with some of the city council members, and to some members' credit, like Rebecca Kaplan, I didn't really like her in the beginning of all this, and I talked to her a couple of times personally, and I'd run into her. I remember at a Wiener Schnitzel in Alameda, and she was very nice, and I'm just like, maybe I got her all wrong. And then I saw kind of how she was handling a few things, and I didn't know if I agreed with it. Part of me was going, this is too heavy-handed, and then part of me was going, maybe this isn't heavy-handed enough, because we saw the games that the A's were playing, and then. So I can't really give her too much fault, but then there's people like Carol Fife, who, frankly, I don't like her. I don't like the identity politics. I don't like... She's racist as far as I'm concerned. I mean, to outwardly not just, say, hey, I don't want to deal with this and do this project because it helps white people. She was like, if it ain't black people... I don't give a fuck about any of you guys. I don't care about the Asian people or the Latino people. I mean, there's recordings of her saying stuff to this matter. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's not how you do it. I'm like, maybe not your district, but plenty of other districts in Oakland are heavily Latino. And you're gonna shit on them. You're gonna shit on Chinatown. You're gonna, the Chinese and the Vietnamese and everybody else. Screw those guys. I mean, that's not how you run a city, and that's beyond divisive. Like I said, her activist attitude puts a lot of people off, and I just don't understand how she gets another round at the table, but she probably will. She probably will, just because the people in Oakland, they're terrible. Brody had an interview with the Oakland GM wearing a hat saying Israel baseball was kind of... I mean, you can't... I see guys with Giants hats. I see guys with A's hats. I see the guys with the USA hats. I see several guys with Japan hats. I mean, I don't. Maybe they're Jewish and or is Israeli descent, and I don't really have a problem with that so much. I mean, we got guys running around with Mexican flags and everything else. It's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna run with our heritage or whatever your ethnicity or place of origin or whatever you want to call it. I don't have a problem with that, I just have a problem with the legitimately, targeted responses that these people have. I mean, this is America. Come on, man. Okay, I think you're taking that one a little far. Again, this is not an American game anymore. It began an American game, but this is a worldwide game now, and people have allegiances elsewhere, and I'm not going to fault them for that. You know, are you saying I can't root for Team Canada? You know, it's like, you know, my father's Canadian. You know, I have family there, but I can't root for them. It's you know, how many guys do we see wearing Brazil soccer kits, or you know, Manchester United or whatever? I'm just like, I don't have a problem with that. The point being, though, is we have people in power who really did very little to help themselves, all in an effort to only help themselves and whoever their constituents are, without looking across the city and saying, these are also our constituents. Sorry, your constituents are also Piedmont and, you know, sorry, there's some little kids over here playing in the dirt. Yeah, they're funny. But you know, you know, all these other districts are still part of the city that you're in. You know, like I said, Piedmont's your district. Montclair is, you know, they're your constituents as well. You know, East Oakland, Jack London, you know, Jingletown. These are all people. West Oakland, they're all the city you're in, and you're going to try and divide your own city? I hope you don't plan to run for mayor anytime soon. And that's another point. A lot of these people are using the city and these lower offices as catapults into higher offices. You know, we've seen it with a number of these people. I almost thought, you know, hey, if Libby Schaaf got this thing done, her mayorship would not have been a complete loss, and hey, maybe she could have sought. Pfeiffer's looking for a hand. Well, she aligned herself up with the port businesses who were against it. Yes, Oakland. Libby fucked up left and right, and she refused. Her and Quan and now Tao. And you know, the list goes on and on. People who refuse to listen to people who know. Why didn't you get yourself a group of people who know what the fuck is going on? Like, why didn't they go find guys, not just them, but the A's? If you really wanted to do this project, why didn't you go out and seek counsel with guys who've gotten ballpark jobs done? Now, if exactly, you know, and they use these as these springboards to go to this next office. You know, Libby would be probably running for governor or lieutenant governor or whatever it is in the next election. We probably won't hear from her for a long time because she really didn't help herself. At least not in a way politically. I don't know. Maybe she helped herself financially somewhere along the line. I don't know. I don't know where it all went down. But you know, one of the things that they were required to do by SB 293 Skinner is for the EIFD is they're supposed to form like this regulatory body. Think of it like a JPA or something like that, who are in charge of taking in and monitoring and report, you know, answering to the city about the taxes and everything else. They're really supposed to be on part of this. We never got around to even thinking of doing that, and that's a process that's going to take minimally 6 months, more likely closer to a year. We have nobody going out there and really working the system. I mean, we should have learned this right after the Raiders deal. Is we should have had a point person. We should have had a guy or several guys and girls or whoever else. Again, we should have consulted with people who know what the fuck is going on. we should have consulted. I mean, Zennie, of all people, at least he offered himself out there. He pointed out mistakes, and if you, I know a lot of you guys, for some reason, you watch Zennie, but you don't want to listen to Zennie. Zennie pointed out that the worksheet that they're working from was flawed, and that the money was actually going to be better than what they thought it was. But not only did they work from it, the A's worked from it. Like, where's the A's in this? Why aren't they going out and getting a guy who knows what's going on? They could do it in Las Vegas. They go get Jeremy Aguero, and they get all these lobbyists, and they go out and they make stuff happen quickly. Now, Las Vegas is a yes town, so quickly happens quicker than other places. Thanks for the application of the city government, but there too. It's not that. It's not your application necessarily. It's a did you run for office. The thing is, and I've seen this a lot, and it happened with the Raiders, which was everybody wants to work on their own little project. Like, this is my idea for the Coliseum. Well, this is mine. And instead of going, well, hey, I like this part of your idea, you like this part of my idea, why don't we work together and we can try and work both of our ideas in? But they don't do that. They go, well, this is my idea. Screw your idea completely. Fuck you. And screw you, and I'm going to talk bad about you on Twitter, and I'm going to badmouth you to the politicians and to the teams, and I'm going to talk bad about you here and there, and you get divisiveness, and you make a lot more enemies than you make friends. In Las Vegas, that doesn't happen as much. You start to see competitors, people who you think are sworn enemies, suddenly coming together and compromising. Everybody's going, well, these are Democrats running the Assembly or the Senate in Nevada. I'm like, these aren't California Democrats. These aren't New York Democrats. These aren't the Democrats you're used to seeing in 2023. These are 1984 Democrats, where they're not completely different from the Republicans. They're down for some business. The differences are very minimal. I can't think of really very many success stories in Oakland. They're few and far between. But the fact that there's so many folks who just want to just dog Fisher, and he deserves every bit of it. John Fisher deserves every bit of criticism and hate that he's getting from the fans and from the online communities and from the sportscasters across the country and the world, the experts, the other owners and broadcasters and talking heads out there. He deserves every bit of it. But we've gotten so used to dogging Fisher that we haven't given proper credit to the people in Oakland. If this went to a vote in Oakland, it was probably going to lose. Because I didn't see the effort in Oakland by the A's to make something happen when they were trying to push for this to go on the ballot. I don't know why Fisher doesn't sell. He's a fucking idiot. But he's going to go to Las Vegas and probably sell. I'll get to that in a minute. The point was that Oakland has a lot to do with the blame. They didn't put the people in place that needed to be put in place. They all wanted to fight amongst each other to push forward their ideas. Well, why don't we just build only housing? Well, fucking that's a stupid idea. I mean, it's a great idea, on paper, but you don't have the money to do these things. And part of the problem I find with Oakland is every time somebody wants to do something awesome in Oakland, got their hand up. Hey, where's my cut? Well, will you fund my program? Okay, great. Hey, you funded their program. Will you fund my program too? Well, what can I do? What can I have? What are you going to give me? Where's mine? That's what everybody was doing. They did to the A's. To a point, it was done with Kaiser and Uber. It's just the expenses were just mounting. And you got to look, when you are trying to build this ballpark, you know, you had the city asking for Oakland to, or you had the city of Oakland to ask the A's. I got to make sure that I differentiate between Oakland and the A's. Hey, why don't you need to pay for the sorry, the comments distracting. They're asking the A's to provide the off-site infrastructure, and some of it I agree with. Hey, you're going to have to build bridges or fences or whatever to get people across safely. Cool, but hey, by the way, can you pave this road? Can you fill in the potholes here? Can you widen the sidewalks here? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then when the A's said no, they were like, wait, maybe we should go and look into these grants. Okay, great. That was shit you guys should have done decades ago, and now you're asking somebody else to do it. Fine. Hey, will you fund this and jobs and this and that? And now we're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in money that they want for community benefits. And the A's were like, okay, we'll pay for the community benefits through the TIF. Now here's the other thing. See, the A's didn't even know what the A's were doing. And he admits this. Dave Cavil didn't even know about tax increment financing until Zennie told him. And now that's what basically, that's what Howard Terminal was going to basically run on. And that's what the Tropicana deal is going to run on, is basically tax increment financing schemes. You know, we're going to use this tax district to pay for this, and so on and so forth. It's not entirely different. It's just that what they were asking for was, hey, we want all this money and we want to direct it towards these programs for Oakland. You don't get to use that program, that money though, for your stadium, whereas in Nevada, all that money gets right back into the stadium. There's no pass-through sort of thing like the stadium, Las Vegas Stadium Authority. So they get a tax break right there. You don't pay taxes, property taxes, that is. They're not going to pay them because they won't own the land, and it will go to a government agency, and they'd be exempt from paying that tax. Now, should the A's decide to buy that land 30 years from now or whenever they pay it off, they would then likely lose that exemption. You know, but the A's were supposedly asking for tax credits and, you know, hey, will you give us a break on the property taxes, or you know, all these various, you know, things. And Oakland was just going, no, by the way, give us this, that, and the next thing. And they're like, well, can we have this? And they're like, nah, you can't have that. And so Oakland did pile on, and man, you might not be paying $300 million to move to Las Vegas, or maybe they will. We'll see. That was kind of a up in the air subject. But the fact is, hey, you might not have a relocation fee, but you sure do have a stay in Oakland fee. You know, what's the point? You know, I was really hoping that with all the stuff that happened on Monday in Nevada, that they would be at least asking for something more than $5 million for a homeless program, you know, 30 years, 20 years down the line, because like they wouldn't even get that money until way later in the process. That seemed weird to me. I'm like, well, why aren't they asking for a robust community benefits? And Maybe it will come up later down the line. And that's the thing, is it's later down the line. Like, man, they're willing in Las Vegas to push through legislation that gives them money now and then figure it out later. Where Oakland is, let's figure it out now, we'll give you money later. And that's a stark contrast. It's a big difference. Nevada's willing to say, we can work this out. Oakland's going, I don't think we can work this out. We don't know how to reach this part. And Las Vegas is going, we don't either, but we're going to. And Oakland says, we don't know how, so we're just not. Granted, the A's did move the goalpost. They said, hey, we want this meeting here. And they got the meeting. And then, they said, well, we got to move this thing here, and we got to do this then, and we got this deadline and this deadline. And for the most part, Oakland got those deadlines, and then the A's moved the goalpost. And so, like I said, it's not totally off of Fisher. He could have helped himself a lot in this whole process by just signing a couple guys, paying them money, and you would have surely saw butts in seats. And it felt like, man, we were going to move that way in 2018. They did the what do they call it? A's Access. And you're like, okay, the fan experience is going to be awesome now, and they're going to put money into the stadium. That means we're going to buy. We're gonna sign a guy. We didn't sign anybody. We do like these little 1 or 2 year extensions, but we never signed anybody. And then, then we saw the Marcus Semien deal. They wanted to offer him $12 million over 10 years or something like that. He was like, what? For 1 year. It's absolutely true. Vegas is open for business. They're trying to get movie studios in there. They're offering tax credits to them. That's a $1 billion project or something that Sony wants to do out there. And it will be inevitable. This may set a bad precedent for themselves later, because they want to be the sports capital of the world, not just the sports and entertainment capital of the world. And what are they missing? They're missing the NBA. And whether that means expansion or relocation of a team, those next guys may not be the next Golden Knights, but they might be the next Raiders or A's coming and going, hey, how much money you got for us? But at the same time, their credit rating is really good, and you're happy they're not going to Wild Wild West. And I'm interested to know why you prefer the smaller property on the other side of the strip, which supposedly is harder to get to. But we're only talking 2 blocks. I'm just curious. Because everybody I talk to, and I have family there and stuff, they're like, we don't want to go to the strip. We don't want to get anywhere near. Hell, half the time I get a hard time getting a ride to the airport. It's a truck stop now, but when it's a baseball park, it won't be anymore. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, well, that makes more sense. So it's a place for you to stay or stop and do your thing. Could they move it a couple miles down the road? Like, I-15 has 1 million. It feels like 1 million acres of just nothing. Especially when you get a little further down the strip, when you get past, trying to remember the name of it, like when you get past like Luxor and all that, then that's pretty much like the end of like the big hotels and casinos, and then now you have more like strip malls and shopping. Like, I never understood why the Raiders didn't go right there, and it would have been right there on the strip. There was a lot more land that was available. You can walk the strip, but do you want to walk the strip in July and August and September, because most of the people who live there don't. TA is what is TA? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Is that I don't know. The Culinary Union didn't like Wild Wild West for a good reason. Wild Wild West was owned by what do you call those guys? Red Rocks Resort, which is part of the Stations Casinos, and Station Casinos are owned by the Fertittas, who are well-known union busters. I have a feeling that had a lot to do with it. I didn't put those pieces together until just last week, and I started asking, like, hey, what's the deal here? Because everybody's like, oh, it's the Culinary Union. You think the Fertittas are on about that. Well, and that's the thing. That was a reason I was told that there was a pivot for the, from one piece of land to the other, was to get the union on board. You got to get those guys out. Now, a guy had told me that the pivot was this whole smoke and mirrors thing to just to get those guys on board and whatever, and the Fertittas are going to buy something. And I'm like, that guy I haven't talked to. He ghosted me, and I'm starting to feel like he's full of shit. So I feel kind of dumb for saying anything about that. So I'm sorry if I got anybody's hopes up. But it never really made a lot of sense. But in that sense of who owns what, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. If that's the case, I mean, with the union and the Fertittas, okay, then point taken. But there's the things that don't make sense to me and a lot of other people. Why do you go from 55 acres to 40, I think it's 46 acres, 48 acres, something like that, to 9? You go from a massive ballpark with massive ancillary development, retail, restaurants and all this other space, to a much smaller piece with less ancillary development, to an even smaller piece. Well, the real site seems to be out of play. I think Phil Ruffin had to do with that. I don't remember. But who knows? Again, this is a site agnostic thing. They could suddenly get this money and then just turn their tail and turn the other way and go down to the fairgrounds or festival grounds. I don't want to call them the fairgrounds, or to the other place. Unions are strong in Las Vegas, and it's funny is because at the same time, these are a lot of the people who want to complain about unions. Well, that's the funny thing is why didn't, this is where I was going with it. So you go from one thing to the next and you say, well, hey, we want this, this, and this. And we're like, this is the same shit that happened with the Raiders, where they were saying, hey, we want ingress and egress, and we want tailgating, and and we're near the train and the freeway and everything. And then they go and they don't have almost any of that. There's maybe later in the future they will. Maybe the bore tunnel thingy will pan out. Maybe they'll get something going. The Raiders were super well known, not just in Oakland, but also in Los Angeles for the tailgating, and the tailgating's gone. There's a little bit. It's not the same. I'm going to tell you that 100%. Any Oakland Raiders fan will tell you 100% that Las Vegas tailgating ain't the same. Not even close. Not even close. It's what the Raiders have become is not the same. And with that, I feel sorry for the Raiders fans who still dress up like gorillas and stupid shit. And I'm like, that's gone, bro. Like, just take off the mask and hang out, have your beer, watch your football game, but that part of the Raiders is gone. The black hole is it's nothing anymore. It's a few seats of guys, you know, and you're just like, oh, this is pathetic. So I mean, don't think that you're gonna get the drummers in the right field, the signs hanging over the barriers, you know, the hometown love that you get here. It's not happening for the Raiders. It's not going to happen for the A's. And that brings me to the next point. It's absolutely wild. The idea that this many so-and-so out-of-town fans are going to come. They're going to come for a 4 o'clock game, which is going to probably piss off a lot of people who got to take off time from work early to get to a game instead of 7:05 or 6:40. They got to roll out at 4 o'clock. Kids don't get out of school till 3:30, so they got to get the kids out early. They got to take off work early, and then they got to sit in all that traffic to get to a game. You know, and then not so bad, I guess, during summer vacation, but you got to sit there in a hot ass car, and even with the AC, it still gets a little bit warm. You know, try and find parking, walk your butt over there, and hopefully, again, maybe, but it's going to be a long time before the Raiders leave. I mean, how long was that relocation? Was it 30 years or was it 50? I don't remember. I mean, you can pay all the money that you owe and leave. And that's another thing real quick. A lot of people keep saying that the Raiders Stadium is paid for. It's not paid for. It's not paid for. 0% paid for. Oh, actually, it's not 0%, but from what I've gathered, they have paid back the bank loan from B of A, but the hotel tax is going to take years to generate enough funds to pay it. Raiders aren't going to pay that out of their own pocket. They're going to let the tourists pay for it. Who the fuck wouldn't? You know, it's like that money's not paid back, and they're not going to pay it back out of their own pocket. They're just going to let it ride and wait it out. So, last I checked, there's around $100 million paid out of the $750 million, give or take. It might be a little bit more. Plus, they now have a healthy reserve. They could probably go about 2 years. So if there's another recession or crazy gunman or some other terrible thing that happens, you know, they're good for a minute. I'm losing some of these comments. Here we go. Raiders will go back to California, maybe. That ship sailed long ago. California politics has a lot to do with, but it comes from we ain't giving you any money for shit. They're not leaving. LA teams will leave first. Maybe they might leave. But they are likely stuck again for a long time. Sorry, my hood is like just flying all over the place. The Chargers might leave. I could see the Chargers leaving, but I don't see the Rams leaving anytime soon. The Rams following is much bigger. I could see the Chargers either going back to San Diego, or possibly filling some space from St. Louis. The Union was shared by the A's. I don't think they're going to share. They won't share the Allegiant. There is no love lost between the A's and the Raiders. Believe me. I mean, unless it happened in the last month or so, Mark Davis was absolutely pissed that the A's decided they were going to focus on Las Vegas. He's like, these fuckers sat there for 10 years, and you know, as great as Las Vegas is, blah blah blah. You could really tell he was pissed that he felt like he had to give up Oakland for Las Vegas. Like, if he could have done it, if he could have did it again, maybe he would have forced the situation the other way, and maybe something would happen. I don't know. You don't want to shit on the Raiders fans in Las Vegas because that's your home now. But at the same time, I felt like he was saying, "Hey, this is, I would have done this differently." And you know, I've been pissed at Mark Davis for, you know, where are we at? 8-9 years now. So I had to actually finally agree with him about something. Like, these sons of bitches, they sat there, they strung us along, and you know, they got what they needed, and they're gonna get it again, minus like some small miracle. You know, they're gonna fund the stadium. Now, what does that look like later? Don't know. Again, the idea that having this many fans come from everywhere. I mean, like, we talk about the A's being abysmal with their attendance. There's other teams that are fighting this too. The Tigers have attendance issues. The Royals have major attendance issues. Are you going to get Tigers and Royals fans to come out on a Tuesday night and play? You're going to get 7 or 8 or 9,000 of them? Like, often? You know, a lot of people are asking that question. How are you going to make up for these things? Well, you can say Al Davis, but you don't say Al Davis with Las Vegas. Mark Davis is just win, baby, just build it, blah, blah, blah. It's a totally different Davis, and Al really, I think, wanted to make Oakland work, and then he died. And then his son took that in another direction. But I wish these kids would go away. It's like everywhere I go, they just keep going. The point is, I don't think the numbers play out the way that they say they're going to. They're going to have to pull some other rabbit out of my. Oh yeah, those. So one of the biggest complaints about baseball modern day is that it's not affordable to take your family out to the ball game. Found a place that's not super windy. It's not affordable to take your kids to the game. Family of 4. They depending. There are some graphs out there that, or lists that have the breakdowns, but they're like. The breakdown for the family of 4 to come to a baseball game is somewhere around $200 to $300, and that's, you know, I don't know what they're basing it totally off of, but let's say an A's game. A's game, not 2023, because you can get tickets for cheap right now. Actually, I'm going to use the Giants. I want to sit in relatively okay seats. Let's say I'm sitting down the third baseline, first baseline you pick. You're looking about $100 a ticket. That's a lot. Hell, bleacher seats at the Giants ballpark were $50. But most places I go, $100 is pretty good. You go to some of these teams. I was looking at Yankees tickets for when I go to New York. And if I want to sit by the dugout, I'm spending like $800 on the resale market. I don't know what they are new. I mean, probably slightly less, but bleachers are you're still looking at $60, $70. It's not a cheap game to get to. And then if you want a hot dog, you mean that's $10. If you want a beer, that's $15. You know, suddenly it's, you know, $300, $400, $500 just take your family to the ballpark. That's not great at all. You know, let's do this in Vegas now, and let's just multiply everything, because Raiders tickets, we know, are the most expensive in the NFL right now. You know, Yay, they get a Super Bowl. What they fucking do, you know? I guess cool. I mean, San Francisco's getting it. Well, San Jose's getting one in a couple years. Used to sell his pitches. Yeah, well, Fisher's an idiot. But I don't see how this works out for Fisher, because how do you do that? If you're going to rely on these fans to come, not unless it's going to happen the same way the Raiders do, where PSLs and a bunch of people selling tickets on the secondhand market. So you sell out your game to a bunch of secondhand sellers, but then you have empty seats because the tickets are too expensive. So that's not a fun prospect, but I guess if it gets it paid for, whatever. I guess you sell for $3 billion in Vegas. I mean, whatever. If you have a shit team, it's going to be hard to sell. You take a shit team, put them in a market that's unproven. I think once you do that, you probably have to sit on it for a few years and build it up. I mean, you didn't have to do a lot in Oakland. We didn't care about the fucking ballpark. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the idea was floated for PSLs. I don't think it works either. I think it's a stupid idea. But, and they'll get their money for, naming rights and everything else. You can expect, a good $200 million or so in naming rights and then a few bucks for sponsors. That was going to happen in Oakland, too. They don't have the fan base in Oakland. A lot of people are just like the Raiders. The A's aren't even the top 5 most popular team in Las Vegas. You got a lot of people from a lot of places. Exactly. I can't see what HOA Prez, is that what your name is? Anyways, that's what I totally agree with, and what I have said myself is all you do is sign Matt Chapman or Matt Olson. Hell, sign them both. You mean you might have got them for $20 million? You might have gotten them for $20 million, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't think they are getting much more in Toronto and Atlanta. NBA's coming. I mean, but again, I was starting to get there with this sets a bad precedent. Are you going to get the next Vegas Knights where whoever this new owner is comes in and throws down his own money and builds his own privately funded arena, or maybe they agree to share T-Mobile. That's not unheard of. And then, or do you get another guy who's asking for cash? And there's a point where you kind of, you reach this point of diminishing returns. And Vegas hasn't figured that part out yet, because it hasn't happened yet. At what point are they so saturated that baseball season overlaps the latter half of the NBA and NHL. Maybe. The only way that's happened, Sir Chi87, is if Oakland decides it's going to get its shit together and say, we're going after big corporations, we're going after job makers, we're going after idea people, we're going after tech and biomed and whatever else we can do, because fuck, that's everywhere. I just don't understand how a city who is in such dire need of a rescue. What was Dave Chappelle said it in his a couple weeks ago. He played his show. I think I mentioned this before. It's like Oakland needs, or San Francisco needs Batman. Well, so does Oakland. We need Superman. MLB wants this to happen. That's just the way it looks. I mean, if I was the commissioner, I would say, hey, instead of us having been giving you these $20 million or whatever it is that they've been getting for revenue sharing, should have said, you can have that money, but you've got to show us that you can really do the job. And I think this should be for any brand new owner of any team. You come in and you spend money or get the fuck out. But it doesn't work that way. It's a buddy business. It's cronyism to a smaller scale. They have their antitrust exemption. There's a lot of stuff that baseball gets away with. I don't know about that. Economic displacement, is that the same thing as gentrification? That's something I don't understand. I understand the concept. You're pushing out low-income people into a place where they can't, because they can no longer afford the neighborhood. But I've seen it, in neighborhoods where, a guy gets a job and he decides that, hey, I'm gonna fix my yard and I'm gonna get the garbage off from the side of the house, and I'm gonna get the bars off my window, and I'm gonna mow my lawn, and I'm gonna fix the landscaping. I'm gonna make my house look nice, and then that guy is criticized because, now he makes the rest of the neighborhood look bad. You fucking show off, He's like, so now you make the rest of the neighborhood look bad. They're pissed at you. People are gonna say, hey, you're a gentrifier. He's like, I've been living in this house my whole life. I fixed it up a little bit. I poured some money into it. And then you get the same people who are like, cool, he fixed his house up. This fool must have some money. I'm busting in. I'm taking his new TV. I'm gonna steal his dog. People are doing that. They're stealing people's dogs. It's so fucked up. It's like, fuck, you can't have anything nice. The police ain't coming. They're gonna say, hey, fill it out on our website, so that fill out your report on your website. And you're like, how? They stole my computer. I guess I'll wait to go down to the library. You can't have anything. And then if you are, you do come up a little bit, you're expected, hey, you gotta leave, bro. Because if you don't leave, somebody else, you gotta make room for another poor guy. It's like but what has Oakland done to make jobs? They keep sending them away. Where do you go shopping in Oakland? You want to go buy a new pair of pants, where are you going to go buy them at? If you're listening, feel free to chime in on the chat on that one. Where are you going to go shopping at to buy a new pair of pants? You got a job interview on Tuesday. Where are you getting those pants at? We're going to go get you some nice slacks. Well, to answer that question, I'll answer it before. You're going probably to Emeryville, or you're going to San Leandro, or if you got a little extra money, you might go out to Walnut Creek, or where else would you go? Walnut Creek, Dublin, Pleasanton, San Ramon. They have a nice kind of high-end little mall thing over there. Outside of Oakland, exactly. You're going to San Francisco, but there ain't shit in Oakland. Hell, if you do find a place in Oakland, it's locked up, and you got to find a guy with the key on his lunch break. It's like, that's if you go anywhere in the Bay Area right now. I wanted to buy socks and underwear for my kid. he's got a trip coming up, and I had to wait almost a half hour for some lady to come around with the key. And then push the little button, because they got the socks and the underwear and the belts and certain pairs of pants and shirts and pajama bottom. They're all locked up because people rip them off. And it's pretty fucked up, you know. You got guys. I think this is kind of a stupid idea at this point, where they fixed up. You hate my state, but you gotta go through it. You know, you gotta get it from the ports to wherever. I mean, maybe you guys can go up to Coos Bay or something. You can get a bag for your food. It's 10 cents. I mean, it's really funny is hey, even us were going, now I'll carry all this shit. You're like putting stuff in your pockets. You like put down your shirt and your jacket. Yeah, it's like, and guess what? Let me show you where the bags are. Down here, over there. Those are the bags. There's a lot of chats coming through, and I'm trying not to get distracted too much as I keep getting pulled off the point I'm making. Feminists have ruined Star Wars and Oakland sports. I don't know. I don't know how they've ruined sports in Oakland, and I kind of follow you on the Star Wars thing, but I don't. I mean, I'm not against representation. I'm against bad representation. Like, if you want to talk Star Wars, I'm a fucking Star Wars nerd. I don't like, you know, California, for all its faults, has good intentions, and they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Some of the stuff, hey man, I think they're taking too far. And then some of the stuff, I'm going, it's not taking it far enough. Free for. Hey, I'm more forced representation. I don't know if it's forced. There is some. I do feel like there is a little bit of. I always called it McDonaldism when I was a kid, because you'd see the commercials and it's like this. It'd be like an Asian kid and a black girl and a white guy and like a Latin dude, and they're all like getting in the car and they're going to McDonald's. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm like, that's unrealistic. But then again, at the same time, I'm going, no, that's not unrealistic, because I see that all the time at school. But I live in the Bay Area, where you have all that. Okay, so my problem with that, where these things have people in it. Hold on, I missed part of that. I'm gonna see if I can't see the chat sometimes. Sorry, poking at my phone. Star Trek. Did the Lord of the Rings have something like that? Are you mad because they made like big people play small people? I'm not sure about that part. Or are you talking about the whatever, and there was like black elves or whatever? I don't know what they were, because they weren't hobbits and they weren't elves. They were like different people. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's like, like I said, I don't like bad representation. Like in the last Star Wars trilogy, and I don't remember her name, but they brought in this girl, the Asian girl, Kelly something. Anyways, and then they immediately killed her sister, and then made her integral to the plot of the second movie, and then she was in the next. You're like, well, if you're gonna try and represent people, represent. But Star Wars was always that. I'm like, you had a black guy voicing a white guy. You had your Lando. So what? He's need to make stories. Well, yeah, I do absolutely agree with that because we. I don't know how this will change, and especially now with the writer's strike over there in Hollywood. But I'm getting really tired. I love representation, but it's representation. You don't have Tom Cruise playing a samurai, unless it's a white samurai, because there are stories. There's actually a story that I'm hoping will get told. It's about a black samurai. And of course, you get a black guy play a black samurai. Robert Downey Jr. the thing, and that's a whole other story too, because that was the joke. He's a white guy and a black guy, and I think that's why that gets that pass, because that's the character. Man, I'm tired of seeing. Hey, what if we make this person that and this character that? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, do it, I guess. Fine, whatever. It's your world. I don't care. I don't have a problem with a black Ariel. I'm like, whatever. Cool. Have fun with it. But it gets old. I'm tired of the 8 different origin stories for Spider-Man. Like, stop. Like, we've gone past that. We can move on from that. Show me new villains, okay? Please, thank you. But the stories in Hollywood are always the same. Have you sat in a movie theater and going, that's the guy. He's the bad guy. You figured out 5 minutes, you ruined the whole damn movie. I love the Spider-Verse thing. And it's a great way to push that envelope of inclusion and diversity, because now you've made it different. Yeah, there you have. I'm tired of having my damn childhood sold back to me for pennies on the dollar. I'm not watching another goddamn Transformers movie because they've been all garbage, absolute trash. I'm like, really? I'm like, just lowest common denominator. Well, yeah, but at the same time, you have to look at where some of these characters came from and who wrote them and that sort of thing. Part of the whole Marvel universe was inclusion. You have gay superheroes and that's not 2000s. That's not the 2020s. We're talking 1960s, 1970s. You have superheroes who are handicapped. You have, obviously females. You do have gay superheroes. You have, varying ethnicities. You have Asian and Latin American and Native American, and there's Russians and Indian, and you name it, everybody's got somebody. And I like that type of inclusivity. Right, I like that, but I'm also tired of the same story. I'm tired of this is the other character. He's like Batman, but he's not Batman. I'm like, can we stop? I really would love it, because I love movies, and when I went to school, I studied film. That wasn't my major, but it was related. But I loved, if you're from the Bay Area, Berkeley had at the UC Theater, and I want to say it was Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, they had the Hong Kong double feature, and it would be these really awesome action films from Hong Kong and other parts of China, where stuff like Hard Boiled and They ran out of ideas because they're only looking at the same fucking ideas that they've been looking at for 100 years. I'm like, we've done that already. But there's these great movies that are coming out of Hong Kong, but they're not made for an American audience. So they get overdubbed or subtitled, and they get transferred over here. And some of them are freaking awesome. You know, I loved it, like watching these guys like Jet Li and Jackie Chan before they ever came to America, like, 20 years before, and going, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this guy? I'm like, oh, this movie has this choreographer. Oh, Wu Ping, and that guy is awesome. Or you go, oh, well, there was Jet Li. He was a big guy. Chow Yun Fat. I don't know what happened to him. He did that. I thought he would take off here because, honestly, his English was actually pretty good for somebody who had just started. I think he can work as a very experienced actor. Maybe he gave up. He did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But there's these great stories out of not just China, but Bollywood. Get rid of the dancing. That's not going to work for American audiences. Maybe for 8-year-olds in Disney films. They love Disney. People don't get it. Man, Disney's huge in the Bollywood scene because they like the singing and the dancing, and that's awesome. But it doesn't work for American audiences. But some of the stories do. Some of the stories are great. But I disagree with race swaps. I don't care about that. Again, as long as it's done well and done right. Doing it just to do it, yeah, that's pandering, but whatever. Yeah, it's silly stuff. I love seeing these movies though. They come out and they do reach American audiences. As a kid, we used to see a lot of Japanese TV in the Bay Area, and there would be stuff like Goltar and to a lesser extent, the Godzilla and those would make the movie stuff, but there was TV shows. Was it Goltar? There's a dude living in the mountain, and the kid played a little flute or a whistle, and he came out on the mountain. And there was a girl called Aphrodite, and she shoot missiles out of her boobs. And there was a flying car, and a guy threw a hat, and I was like 4 or 5 when I saw that, and I thought that shit was amazing. But these inclusive stories can happen. It's just boring. That's where I get thrown off. I'm like, I'm tired of the same old story. Let's try this. I'm like, can we ask some people, like, hey, the Kung Fu movies were great. A lot of them were vaguely similar. I'm like, there's always, he's a Hong Kong cop, and then he's doing the, or he's from the Shaolin Temple, and these are, it's like, and I got the monkey fist, and he's like, I got Crane, it's like, it was UFC before UFC. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Miles Morales Spider-Man is fantastic. It's a different story. It's similar, but it's different, and it's told from a different point of view. Now you got the other side. Little people were pissed about Lord of the Rings. Dwarves going, why is there a big guy standing on his knees with shoes on him and playing a dwarf? I'm like, I'm a real dwarf. Why can't we play dwarves? And I get it. Why is this regular guy playing? I can wear big, fuzzy slipper shoes that make my foot look hairy. Like why not little people? I like Willow. Willow was great. I loved it. The 80s were really awesome for little people. If you were a dwarf and you were in movies, there was a lot of stuff for you. They wrote them for you. Nice talking to you. See you later. Thanks for this is probably the most interactive chat show that I've had with Zennie62 in, 2-3 years, where people are actually thank you. I appreciate that. It's taken us way off topic. Now we're talking about movies and inclusion, but there are some great stories out there from other parts of the world that haven't reached an American audience or Hollywood that would really work well to be turned into something else, as at least a starting point. I like when a movie where the bad guy wins sometimes. I'm tired of seeing just the, but Hollywood has a formula and it's boring and outdated and just, who wants to go to the movies anymore? COVID aside, movies cost, $15 to go to the movies, $8 for a tub of popcorn, $6 for a soda, $8 for some candy. He's like, I don't want to go to the movies now. Suddenly it's $100. We went to Sizzler when we went to a tournament 2 weeks ago. I'm like, since when is Sizzler for two people $100? It's just too expensive, And this is going to take me back to the A's in Las Vegas. A new state-of-the-art stadium is going to be expensive. You're going to be... Is that something that the average household is going to be able to do regularly? Like, can a regular household afford season tickets? That's 81 games. We're not talking 8 games of Raiders. It was 81 games of the A's. Are they going to field a good team that's going to bring the butts to the seats? I mean, if I'm the Yankees, I might come to a game, like a Yankees fan. I might come to a game, but to watch against the A's? Shit field product. I guess I get to watch my team just smoke somebody, but whatever. There's no guarantee that the A's are going to sign anybody big. The Raiders have done sort of, but nothing crazy yet. Well, I'm not, are A's fans really just going out there trying to watch a bunch of games? Maybe 1 or 2, but not 50 or 30. I mean, most fans in the Bay Area are really only going to a handful of games a year. So you got to expect a lot of people to do that over and over and over again. You might get, X thousands of season ticket holders, but are they buying a full season package? Or are they buying a half season package? Are they buying a quarter season or whatever the packages may be? So they're not coming to every game. They're only coming to some games. Some people will come to all the games. So you have to have, there's like this constant turnover. And that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why aren't people, just the logistics of it, it seems flawed. But anyway, I'm going to cut, because I think I only have like 2% of battery left. I've been on here for 73 minutes, so we're coming up on an hour and 15 of me saying that, hey, please blast John Fisher all day long. Blast Dave Cavill all day long. Hell, even jab at Billy Bean, because he's part owner, and whoever else is part owner, take jabs at them too. Fuck them all. I'll be honest with you. They're all a bunch of dicks. But don't forget Oakland. They have a hand in this. They did plenty to not make this happen. They asked for too much. They didn't want to give anything, but they wanted everybody to give to them. And I think that's where this all fell apart. I think the A's saw that they were never going to get anywhere with these guys, and maybe that's why. That's maybe why it didn't happen this way. I want to say thank you though, because like I said, I've never had anybody really interact on a live stream like this. So I want to say thank you, Sir G87, because I saw your super chats. I didn't know that you have to pay for those. So I super appreciate that. That really helps things move, things like this along. I'd love to keep this, friendly and fun. And I don't want to argue with anybody about how, like, I'm wrong sometimes. I'm just wrong. I hope I'm wrong now, because I saw how this all went down with the Raiders, and everything that I thought was going to happen didn't happen, because I thought it should happen that way, and I was wrong. So I'm kind of hoping now that I think everything's going to shit, maybe I'll be wrong again. I hope I'm wrong. I pray to be wrong. But anyways, guys, I'm going to cut out. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for interacting. Thanks for your comments. Please like and subscribe. If it was more like this more often, I would be on here all the time. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. Take care, and let's go Oakland. Good night.